This is the ultimate camera showdown of 2023.
One shall stand, one shall fall.
I'm just kidding. I really just wanted to see if there was that big of a difference between the 14 Pro and this year's 15 Pro. Every year, Apple boasts
iPhone 15 Pro has our best camera system yet.
Fun fact, this is the first time since the iPhone 12 Pro that the Max gets something that the other Pro doesn't. Yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me, that something in the Pro line wouldn't get what everything else has in the Pro line. When it comes to what's improved on the 15 Pro compared to last year's 14 Pro, there's a pretty short list. The super high-res photos added a 24 megapixel range, which should make for some more crispy photos, especially if you gotta punch in. This is probably the only thing most people would even care about. But more advanced users probably will care about the next generation portraits with focus and depth control, log video recording, ACES, which is short for Academy Color Encoding System, ProRes Video, which previously recorded at 4K up to 30, now it's 4K up to 60, but it must be done on an external SSD, which is a whole nother story. More on that in the reviews. And that's pretty much all the info that's changed. Let's get into these photos and videos and see if that makes a big difference. The first few photos were taken on a nice but pretty cloudy day. The sun was peeking through, but not enough to really cause a ton of shadows. The area has a ton of green shades mixed with some browns. The parts that do have some shade seem to look about the same to me. So what do you guys think? Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Now this last photo on the path is the first shot. I really feel the grass on the left side of the iPhone 15 Pro was ever so slightly a bit more green. These were taken at the exact same time, so the sun was not peeking through in one and not the other. These next two shots were more pointed towards the sky, which was brighter, but still cloudy. Now the first one seems like the 15 Pro was a bit darker perhaps, leading me to believe that it may be trying to pull back the light from the sky. If I were taking these pictures again, it's possible that it could turn out to look exactly like the 14 Pro. Now let's break it up for a second, and why don't we take a look at some video comparisons between these two phones. Both of these are shooting in 4K, 24 frames a second. This is what I like to shoot in. I know a lot of people like to do 30 and 60, but this is just, it looks good to me, what I feel like looks good. Now, I could shoot in 30 and 60, but my videos post at 24. So you might see a little difference. I don't know if it's really gonna matter. I mean, that's kind of counterintuitive, but this is what this is. I have the sun right over there popping in and out of the clouds. So you may see, you may not, going into a little darker areas. So the camera may have to adjust a little bit. So that'll be a good test to see how these are. Also testing out the microphones to see what you guys think. And I'll kind of give my 2 cents after I get home and watch it. But I'm out here taking photos on a beautiful day. Not a ton of sun. It is popping in and out. I may do another day where I'm testing where it's just blatantly sunny out and add it to it, but we shall see. So we got just regular one-time zoom on these. And I feel like I've mentioned this before, but when you're holding the camera out at the one-time zoom, I always feel like you gotta kind of like stick it out there a little bit, because if you're holding your phone like right there, you're really like holding it out. Like your arm is out there and you're doing it. And I always feel like when I'm doing that, I need to jump to the 0.5. So let's just jump to 0.5 right. Whoa. All right, so now I'm at 0.5 and I can kind of hold it at hand's length. So if I'm actually just holding the phones as opposed to using a tripod, that's what it feels like. And I feel like if I just have that on one time, I have to like hold it out here just to get everything in frame so your head's not cut off. So that's how I feel, and that's how I always end up shooting. So with the tripod, you know, it's not necessarily needed. You get more in. How does that look walking around? I mean, I know it's a whole lot on your head, but for me, I can hold the camera out with the tripod at a reasonable length. It's not too terribly bad. So I don't know what you guys think. Go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know which is your favorite so far as video goes. We'll swap it around. I'll do some run tests and whatnot with the stabilization. which I don't think got any better, but hopefully it didn't get worse. Now, going back and taking a look at the footage on this video, I feel like they both look pretty darn good. Again, the 15 Pro ever so slightly, just maybe a little more red in my sweatshirt. My face might be a little more saturated, but honestly, I'm nitpicking here. As far as the audio goes, it may have been thrown off a little bit by the fact that I had both phones put together. So you do feel like one kind of skips from the left ear to the right. I noticed that when I was listening to it on my headphones. But other than that, they both sound awesome. They both look pretty darn good. And overall, I mean, those are the minute details that I could tell between the two. What do you guys think? Go ahead and leave a comment down below, and let's take a look at some more pictures. So in these next couple pictures, I want to test the dynamic range, because something that has always been an issue is it'll get the clouds, but it won't get the trees and so on and so forth. Now, there's a little bit of sun here, so I feel like it would have to choose. I think it did a great job in this photo, as well as this one right here. Now, the iPhone 15 Pro does have that coating on the lens that's supposed to reduce lens flare and picking that up. It does a good job here, but I don't think that's exactly what everyone thinks it's going to be. This could just be the way that I have the camera set up. All right, so we finally got a nice clear day. Sun is behind me shooting across the sky here. And in this photo, everything looks almost identical. I can't tell a difference. Can you guys? Because in the next ones, this is a little bit weird. The 14 Pro here seems like the sky is just a little bit more bluish gray than the 15, like it's a little bit more washed out on the 15. But the greens don't look any different. So everything else looks fine except for the blues are just a little bit different. And pretty much the same thing goes here. I'm standing on a hill across looking over Hershey Park, where the blue sky and the white clouds in the 14 Pro are a little deeper, whereas the 15, they're a little bit brighter. Now, the greens and all the colors in Hershey Park look almost identical. Maybe the 15 Pro is a little brighter, but it really is difficult to tell if you're not looking at them side by side. They both look great. Okay, so let's have a little fun here. I like to shoot this red barn. I think it looks good with the trees and the contrast and the sky and all that. This is the Ultrawide, and it gets everything in that you need, and I still feel like you could probably punch in and get a little closer if you wanted to. So that's what I did next with the one-time zoom right here. The colors on both look absolutely awesome. When you get to the shade, same thing. It doesn't fall apart. It does a great job. Tons of dynamic range with the sky. You can see the clouds. And where the barn gets red with the sun, looks good. Trees are lit up, trees in the shade. It just looks all even. And both, again, absolutely knocked this out of the park. Then I took it one step further and went to 2x zoom here. And again, same thing in the shadows. Everything looks absolutely perfect. In the light, with the trees hitting the light and the shadows hitting part of the tree, sky looks good and everything looks crisp and clear. I don't think you can go wrong with either one of these cameras. And I punched in and I couldn't see really that big of a difference between the two. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. So then I shot in for 3x zoom here, and the same thing, these look absolutely awesome. Between the shade of the tree on the barn, the shade of just the tree from the front part of it blocking it, and then of course the trees that are in the sun portion, the sky, I mean, everything just looks really good here. Not too bad for 3x zoom for both of these cameras. I absolutely love it. Then, of course, I went max 15 zoom. Now, this is the optical plus digital, and it looks like it may have gotten more of the tree here. As you can see, the leaves are a little bit more in focus, but hey, that doesn't look too bad for max 15 zoom. If I tapped on the window, it may have gotten a little more clear. So, you know, I don't know how much you want to use this. This isn't necessarily something you're going to be taking a beautiful photo to blow up, but if you need to get something far away, I think this will work. Okay, so let's go ahead and test out the stabilization on the rear-facing video cameras. Okay, so I'm just walking normal. I'm holding the tripod. It's kind of moving back and forth even more than when I was holding it before. These shoot in 2.8K at 24 frames a second, And the camera is actually at 0.5 right now. So it's the ultra wide angle that you're getting. So it kind of helps a little bit. It can zoom in if it needs to stabilize, so it doesn't feel like it's got to punch in regardless. It's got a good angle on it already. And I was always impressed with this when I was trying it out on the 14 Pro. Absolutely amazing. And I don't think it's going to be any worse this year. I don't know if it's any better, to be honest with you. But hopefully it's not worse. And I can jog a little bit here, get an idea. You're holding it. And it's just, I don't even have to look at it. I know that it's going to be awesome. So I'm bouncing around pretty good. Running up a hill, kind of bouncing the tripod, looking where I'm running. Not necessarily worrying about how I'm holding the tripod. It's doing its thing. So, I don't know. What do you think? I don't think there's anything to say other than this looks awesome. I mean, everything that I said as I was shooting this, it turned out to be true, from looks to sound to the stabilization. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. I don't think there's anything else I really need to say, so let's get on with the rest of the video. Something else I know is extremely important to a lot of folks is the front-facing camera. How does it look? How does it sound? And, you know, where do you got to hold the phone? Now, as far as this test goes, if I were to hold it like where the phones are right now at the top of the tripod, that's where it's at. I feel like it's got a nice good base around it. You're not like having to hold it out to do that. If you got somebody else in the picture, I feel like you'd be able to kind of conduct some sort of interview or chatting with some friends. Any more than that, you know, you're fitting more than one friend in there, you got to get more people in there, that might be an issue. If I start moving around and start walking, how does it look? How does it sound with the microphone? I'm sure it sounds pretty good. I know these, I believe, are 4K, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know what the focal range is and what the f-stop is on all this. It looks like everything's in focus for the most part, if I look, but you know, it's kind of tough to tell when you're looking at the phone. This is the front-facing camera. This is what a lot of people use. It's nice to be able to see where you're at, put yourself in frame so you're not doing like one of these or one of these, you know, something like that. You kind of get a better idea. And I'm walking. I'm not being too careful with balancing this, but, you know, we'll see how it looks. I feel like it's bouncing on the screen, but that could get some good stabilization in the post. So what do you guys think? Leave your comments down below. I don't think there really is much more to say about the footage there. It looks good. It sounds good. Let's just move on. I wasn't going to do night mode test for photos because I didn't think there was that much of a change between the two. However, the changes might not be where you think they are. So let's go ahead and jump into the night modes on this camera. Now here's a baseline just to test where we're at and where we're headed here for these. There is no night mode on these phones, and this is about later than dusk. Sun's down. You can see there's a little bit of blue left in the sky just from the capture of the phone, but here is night mode turned on. This is about a 3 to 5 second shot. They both look generally about the same. There's enough light in the scene to kind of help out both cameras there. The trees look the same. The truck looks the same. The sky looks about the same. But when it gets a little darker, that's when I started noticing a little bit of a difference. The 15 Pro here, with no help from night mode on either, seems to be just a little bit brighter. The sky is just a little bit more lit up. The truck gets a little bit more of the light from the side. But when you turn on night mode here, I think this is about a 5 to 7 second shot. The 15 Pro really shows here that it's getting a little bit brighter in the leaves, in the sky, on the truck, on the driveway, and then, of course, the bush right there to the left. I was pretty surprised the improvements made. Does the 14 Pro look bad? No, it doesn't look bad at all, but the 15 Pro kind of stepped up a little bit here, and I was pretty surprised by the no night mode help, as well as the slight improvement with the night mode on it. Well, it seems like I can't get a clear night here in Pennsylvania, but this is the best that I could do, and I like the way that this looked because the sky looks like it's moving about 1,000,000 miles an hour because the clouds are kind of moving at this point, but both did a really good job on this night mode. Again, the 15 Pro, maybe just a little bit brighter. Now this second shot right here, same thing. Sky looks like it's moving like crazy. Now I may have moved the 14 Pro a little bit here. It looks a little fuzzy on that lit up tree down there at the bottom right corner, whereas the 15 Pro is a little bit sharper, but I think that's just user error. It turned out really good, and I'm pretty happy with the way that these handled night mode. But it seems like the 15 Pro may have gotten just a little bit better, but enough to upgrade, and is it worth the price? For most people, the answer is absolutely no. It is not worth the upgrade to go from the 14 Pro to the 15 Pro. If you bought it outright and you wanted to sell it and buy the 15 Pro, you're not going to get back what you paid for the phone, or let me rephrase that. You're not going to get back what you feel you should get back, unless you found a sucker, on that phone to upgrade to the 15 Pro. Unless you get a deal and, you know, they want to exchange it with the phone company and you got to go another 2 years or free to upgrade it. That's up to you. And if you want to do that, by all means, go for it. Now, there is a small percentage of folks out there who may benefit from upgrading from the 14 Pro to the 15 Pro based on the improvements that I talked about. Now, a lot of those improvements when it comes to things like, you know, a bluer sky or a less blue sky or more saturation, the cameras are so good that you can do that in post if you're someone that has the skills to do that, or even you want to learn. It's really not that difficult just to bump it up a little bit. So you can make up for what I feel the differences are. Night mode, that might be a different story. I don't know if you're going to be able to get that quality unless you have the experience to be able to do something like that. Like I always said, if you're coming from a much older phone, I'd say anything 12 and older, you probably will see a good upgrade on that. Again, if it's in the budget. I always got to throw that out there because I don't want to assume that everyone has the money to be able to do this, because I had to sell a few things to get mine. So there's that. If you've been watching a lot of spec videos, phone videos, reviews, all that, why don't you go ahead and check out this video right here I did on iPhone destruction. Pretty good. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.